So I wrote 2
Don't
books.
get humble now. Don't get humble now.
Not clearing the
People.
throat.
Yo.
Hello.
What's up, coworkers?
What's good, coworkers? Welcome back to another episode of the We Outside Afterwork podcast.
Boom.
I never wait until it's over to introduce
Don't wait,
the podcast.
because we ain't gotta wait. There ain't no saving us for later.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Well,
it.
I am Dana.
I'm Aaron, and we have a special guest in the building today. A distinguished author, poet, business owner, HBCU grad, Harvard grad.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna use her pen name first, T.M. Stewart, but as affectionately known to us as Tiffany.
Tiffany, what's good? Thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Yeah, the pleasure's all mine.
I have to tell the story about how Tiffany and I met because Dana wouldn't let me tell her. So it was actually...
Yeah, because I wanted it to be like the first time we all hear it, so it's authentic.
This is a secret that nobody else knows but me and... No, I'm just messing.
Uh-oh.
Me and Tiffany actually met at a poetry event. I was doing my first poetry. Shout out to Qua for hooking that up. Just Mike the Poet was there. Sue Surf was there the day before. And I actually got on stage. I was getting ready to do a poem in the damn fire. Sorry, I'm not cursing today, y'all. I apologize.
Because his grandfather watches.
Yeah.
When we first started, I said my parents and my grandma watched this, and I don't want to like be too vulgar. And you was like, "Fuck that, no."
Well, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna
But
not
now
say
your
that.
grandfather called you out. So.
But during the poetry reading, the fire alarm had went off. So I'm over there standing on stage looking stupid for like 15 minutes. It was like 15 minutes, right?
It was in the middle of your segment, right?
I just started. I was nervous. I'm over there. I'm ready to go, and then all of a sudden, ringing on
The fire alarm went off? Damn. Did the sprinklers come on?
No,
too?
they didn't come on, luckily.
Okay.
But then when it did start, I started doing my poem. It was a little shaky. It was a little rocky. But afterwards, my cousins who came with me to support, shout out to Justin, Jenna, my brother Armand, they all came to support me. We went outside to take a picture. So we just needed somebody to take a picture for us, and lo and behold.
So you randomly just asked Tiffany?
I didn't ask her. My cousin asked her.
Did he
And-
know you?
Nah.
No.
Oh, okay.
So when she asked her, she was like, "Oh no, I got you. Don't worry about it." She was real polite about it. And then afterwards, my cousin was like, "All right, so put your number in my phone." And she's like, "No, I'm gonna put it in the cloud." So she's like, "What's the cloud?" So Tiffany had to explain her
How
how to
many
do
years ago
airdrops.
was
This is like
this?
2 years ago, just
Oh.
February of 2021.
Yep.
Yep. So we still fresh.
Okay.
But afterwards, after the show, they had us exchange Instagrams with everybody. And me and Tiffany, we just hit it off on Instagram, just talking about different things, different writing opportunities. So she's like my angel in the sky when it comes to writing. She helped me
that's
get
sweet.
through a lot of motivations and stuff like that. So shout out to you.
Shout out
that.
to Tiffany.
She know
Drop
that.
a bomb for her.
I'm feeling all the love. I just want to say that. Thank you.
Yes, we are here to support Black Queens. So we're going to actually get started with our icebreaker card game that we always start with. So, Aaron, you want me to go first?
Nah, I'll go first. No.
Well, I'll read mine first,
right.
and then you respond, and then
Sounds
Tiffany, you'll
good to
go,
me.
and then I'll go. Okay, so it says, what would you tell your younger self?
What I would tell my younger self is to stay confident. I know we was being a little silly at the end of the last episode talking about Flavor Flav, but
No, you was talking about Flavor Flav.
okay, I was talking about Flavor Flav. But confidence is one of the things that I think a lot of people struggles with because we're afraid to hear no as an answer. We're afraid to be rejected and different things like that. And once I realized that as an adult, especially pursuing women, rejection comes, it happens. Like, you just got to accept it. You got to keep going. You can't let nobody tell you no, even if they do. Even though no is a complete sentence, like Kayla said that one episode, you just got to keep changing their minds, change perspectives. So
Right. I
I'll
like
tell my
that.
younger self, just don't worry about the no. Just
Keep
going.
pushing. Fuck everybody's opinions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
I would say, I would tell my younger self to trust your intuition.
I like that.
I can remember so many times when I knew something, but I didn't know. And I allowed myself to think that I needed any evidence outside of what I instinctually knew in order to, like, make a decision.
Okay.
And I like, literally, I feel like my life would have been different if I would have just trusted my gut from the beginning. Now you learn lessons and all that stuff. But if I would have just been like, that's a real thing. Like and I'm talking about like crazy emotions. I'm talking about like when you know that you know that you know.
Your intuition. Yeah. Women's intuition, like that's a
Men
real
can have
thing.
intuition too.
You can, but women's is just more stronger because we're emotional creatures. I don't want to say creatures, but like, we're emotional humans. So we're more tapped into like our surroundings and what's going on and what's like right for our path in this life. So at least for me, like I'm very tapped into that. So I agree.
Look at us agreeing nice and early.
Right. For me, what I would tell my younger self is a little bit of the same thing you both said. So confidence and intuition. And then I would say, what would I say? It's hard actually now that I think about it.
We always be putting you on the spot.
I know.
We ain't got to come back to this one, right?
No. So I would tell my younger self that it's going to be okay. Because there were times where I would just get like so stressed out about my future and not like thinking that I'm not going to get where I need to go, like career wise and emotionally. Cause like I went through a lot of like emotional roller coasters when I was in college. So like I would tell her that it's okay. Like don't stress so much. Like you got this and just keep pushing forward.
I think younger self should read Tiffany's book, but we definitely
gotta get into that because I love motivational books and just like trying to tap into like your purpose. So, is that what it's about?
Yeah, it is.
But we gonna wait. My question is, what do you think is my superpower? So we're gonna ask ourselves what we think our own superpowers are that the world gets to be saved from. So
not saved from.
Yeah. So Tiffany, let's go with you.
Oh, I'm first. Okay, so I was in a conference yesterday, and I realized that I used to think my superpower. As of yesterday, I don't think it anymore. But I mean, I'm gonna talk about it today. Okay. I used to think my superpower was being able to read people, but they can't read me. Like I really loved that about myself. Like I can look at someone and I can say, "Oh, I know this, and this." And
is it based off their energy that they? Yeah,
like just based off like conversation. I'm a quiet person by nature.
You're really don't Pisces, right? Yeah, we're both Pisces, so I can relate to that. Like I feel like I'm big on people's energies, and I just know what their intentions are just from like conversation.
Yeah, like it's uncanny. Like I can, and I'm quiet. Same. So, it's like a ninja. I really,
like you read
really
the room.
know.
You read the room, but like you're there emotionally and you're tapped in, but you're not like the loudest person
Exactly
in the room.
Exactly that. Like I could tell you about every person. But what I loved about that ability, I used to anyway, was that people would always say like, what do you think? And I can't tell. Like, I don't know. I can't tell how you feel. And I used to think that was a superpower. I don't know. I went to this conference yesterday and we were talking about superpowers. And
what a coincidence.
Right.
Exactly. So someone put it into perspective to say, well, why would you not want people to know your authentic self? And I understand that perspective. So I'm not really sure if I feel like it's a superpower or if it's one that I'm actually proud of today. But that is something that I really used to like about myself.
Okay.
That ability.
I like that. Love that. So my superpower, I would say, and I feel like it's a positive and a detriment. Like, I allow people to be comfortable with me. Like, I'm more so their safe space, or they see me as their safe space to where they can confide in me and tell me a lot of things about them that they don't necessarily tell a lot of people. So I love that because it kind of like disarms people. But at the same time, like, to me, it can be emotional baggage. So, yeah, I feel like that's my superpower.
I see that.
My superpower is, I believe it's my charm, right? But I also don't think it's a superpower that I attribute to everyone because I was actually talking this over, and I'm not charming when it comes to dealing with men, right? And it's not like on some like homosexual kind of connotation. It's more so like when I'm at work, I give women just...
Are you flirting with them, or is it just
See, at
like...
first I didn't realize it. I thought it was just like, oh, my natural disposition. I'm just going to make you, like you said, disarm you. I'm going to make you feel comfortable. But at the same time, it's night and day when it comes to talking to women and talking to men. So I'm like,
I want to follow up with that when you're done.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so easy to just make a woman feel comfortable talking to me because I don't feel like a threat to them. I make them feel seen. I make them feel heard, feel attended to. So I do think that that's a superpower. A lot of men don't seem to possess that, especially based on the conversations that I have with other women. It's like, do these dudes even like me? Like, what? They don't even look at me and make me feel seen. But I think I do have that capability.
Okay, that's dope. So, one of the questions I had with someone recently, they asked me, what is one thing that I don't like about someone that I'm dating? Like, what's one thing that would be a deal breaker? And I said someone who is super friendly.
Oh, yeah, that's me.
Why she was agreeing. But for me, it's like, I don't want someone I'm dating to make every woman feel special, right? Like, I don't want you to make them feel like everything you're saying is a compliment and like it comes off as flirtatious, because to me it's like there's a boundary there. And it's a very thin line. It's like, it's disrespect and flirting, or you being nice. And if you're doing that with everybody.
As two of my really close friends, right? But I believe both of y'all know me enough to know that I struggle with boundaries, right?
Okay.
So Tiffany is big on telling me, like, I need to establish that, because I feel like I, without boundaries, make people feel a little too comfortable, and I don't take into consideration their feelings and different things like that.
Give us an example.
I don't know if I have examples per se, but it's just because I'm so boundaryless with my friendships and whatnot, I don't want to make somebody fall in love with me by accident, even though I'm not controlling that. I'm not controlling that I allow it to happen. So it's like, I need to take a step back and recognize, like, I'm not probably in the best position to be so open with you, knowing that it can probably put you in a mental or emotional state of harm.
How do you feel about that, Tiffany?
I completely agree with you. Like, from the perspective of someone who I'm with, it's hard because you want someone with a good heart, right? Because you know how people do anything is how they do everything. Right. So you want someone who is caring, is, you know, loving and all that stuff.
But you don't gotta. But you don't want that, like, because that was something that one of my friends, Yvonne, who was on the episode, we were talking about New Year's. So I was like, you don't have to be mean to women, but you don't want them to feel that comfortable enough to where, like, after the conversation, it's like, oh, by the way, text me, or like, hit me up on Instagram. Like, you don't have to exchange any type of information but like, they don't know that you're just being nice. You know what I mean?
I don't want anybody who I'm dating, I don't want anyone to feel like they could just access them. Right. Like, I want the person who I'm with, I want it to feel like, oh, it's kind of hard to get in touch with this person.
Yeah, because he has a girl. Like, you're his girlfriend.
But y'all know me with exclusivity and territorial.
You don't count. You are an anomaly. We know that.
I'm using me as an example because I believe other men feel this way and don't know how to express it. Whereas, you know,
I think we can't generalize.
I know.
They was upset.
It's okay. I'm going to get on the other side. You know, the men are going to not call me a simp this time, because I do feel like a lot of men would prefer to live a lifestyle where they're very open with multiplicity. Like, I don't think it needs to be like...
What is multiplicity?
It's something that I coined, right?
That you made up?
Yeah, I don't think it's polygamy per se, but I do think a lot of men feel more comfortable having access to multiple women without feeling like, yo, that's my girl, my only girl, etc. Now, my cousin Joey, I'm gonna shout him out because he always in our comments and whatnot. He's a very one-woman man.
That's your cousin?
Yeah, that's my cousin.
I didn't know that.
He's a very one-woman man, so it's not every dude out here that wants to be with a bunch of women. It's not even me that wants to be with a bunch of women or anything like that. But at the same time, having access to anyone, I think everyone has the opportunity to see who you truly are.
Yes.
Go ahead and criticize me, y'all.
I just want to add my little 2 cents to that. I feel like you can be open and explore and experience different people, but I think there comes a point in your life where you've done that, right? Like, you've done that for so long, and it's like I don't want to call it settling down, because that sounds so, like, you know, like you're old as fuck, right? But you're getting to a point where like you really want to build a foundation with somebody. Like you want to have those memories where it's just y'all two traveling. You're like buying property together. Like you're tying those things together so that you can eventually build a family and a unit. Like that's what I'm looking for. Not right now, but eventually. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing to have those options, but I'm just saying, like, for me, it gets to a point where it's like, I don't want someone who is still looking for those options and still trying to explore and experience everybody.
Understood. But we do have a guest in the building.
Yeah, we want to get to know Tiffany.
We want to get to know Tiffany just a tad.
Yes.
You know, and one thing that when I first met Tiffany, I was very, very proud to know that she not only attended Howard University, the other HU, but she also attended Harvard University. Sorry, my cousin she went to Hampton, so I got to represent Hampton, you feel me? But going to Howard, what was that experience like? Because Dana and I, we both went to a PWI. So what was the HBCU experience like for you?
Yeah. It's beautiful. Like first of all, let me just say that I didn't even know what an HBCU was before I applied. I can remember my math teacher, a Black woman, says to me, oh, you know, like, what colleges are you thinking about, you know, going to? And I'm from Connecticut, so I was like, oh, maybe UConn, Yale, like, these are things that I'm thinking about. She was like, you know what a HBCU is? And I'm like, no, what is it? And so she explained it to me, and then she said, I'm like, well, what's the best HBCU? And she said, it's Howard. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go there. Like, literally, that was it. Yeah. But when I got there, it was my first time being around Black people, you know, like, and that's all you saw. Like, just all Black people, teachers Black, people Black, Black doctors, Black lawyers.
You know what's funny? I didn't know about HBCUs until I went to Keene. Like, until I had friends who were in different sororities and fraternities, like D9, and then they were talking about going to different HBCUs, homecomings and stuff. And I was like, what is it? Because, like, people in my family, they didn't really go to college. Like, I'm more so that first generation, you know, us Black people, we the first generation for most things, right, in our family. So I was like, what is that? And then I found out, like, it's literally a campus where it's predominantly Black, and they're teaching you a lot of, like, Black studies and history. But, like, for me, like, I just couldn't afford it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's like that. It's definitely like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, just, I mean, it was just beautiful. I met, like, you know, it was my first time meeting, like, rich Black people. You know, I'm 18, and I'm from Connecticut, and there's no rich Black people. I don't know any. So going there, I met some, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, you know, it just opens your eyes up to a new thing. And, like, the whole learning your history and just, like, realizing there's something to be said when you understand that you come from greatness.
Right.
Like,
and not slavery.
Right.
So what was your favorite experience going to that HBCU experience? Like, what made it, if you could tell any young Black kid out there, aside from the education, right? Because I believe college has its upticks with education and whatnot, but the experience for me is what made college worthwhile. What would you tell a kid is the best experience to go to a HBCU?
I would say, I feel like the most people that I know today who are making it, like making things happen, bosses, CEOs, millionaires, like literally people who I lived in dorms with, multi-millionaires now, came from Howard.
Damn. Love that.
100%.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, because, you know, me and Tiffany, we do have a personal relationship, and you always talk about manifesting to get to millions. So
drop a bomb for that. Yeah. Manifesting millions. That's going to be the title of this episode.
Because one thing me and Dana like to talk about is that manifestation piece. Yeah. So how do you manifest being a millionaire? Like, a lot of us don't see that as realistic without being an actor.
But we had an episode about manifesting and how we do it. So we did say writing down your affirmations in the morning, speaking to God, visualizing how you see yourself in the next few years. So how exactly do you do it?
Yeah, like, well, one is I kind of just always felt like I was gonna be a millionaire. Like, literally, I told myself, well, it's been a couple years, but this year I'm definitely gonna be a millionaire for sure. Like, I'm scaling my business.
We're putting that out.
That's the end of it. When I come back one day, I will be a millionaire. But
love that.
She coming back. Y'all heard her, right?
Yeah. When I come. So I would say that, like, knowing that you are capable of doing it, and another thing would be, like you said, affirmations, right? Like, I make God a part of my my business. Like, okay, what is it that I should be doing? What's the strategy? Because I don't want to work super hard. I want to work smart.
Exactly. That's key. Love that.
Literally.
Yeah.
What else? I act like I'm a millionaire.
Okay.
You know, like mentally, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
You know, like like I act like I'm the millionaire Tiffany, not like the broke Tiffany. So if I want to do something, there's certain times where I be like, oh, I can't do it. I'm budgeting for something. But like I never say I'm broke.
My best friend is like that. Like she'll literally be like, if she paid all her bills and she doesn't have enough money in the bank, but like, you know, when you pay your bills and you think you're kind of broke, but you paid all your bills. But she'll say like, oh, I have money in abundance. So I'm paying my bills, but I can still do other things because money is going to come back to me. So I think that kind of aligns with the same thing where it's like you have to mentally train yourself to not feel like you're broke because then you like attract that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's true.
And then with me and Dana doing this podcast, this is essentially entrepreneurship for us, right? So it was a huge leap of faith. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but me and Dana, this is not our day-to-day, everyday 9-to-5 type of thing, you know. We're not going to call this a hobby, but we trying to get to that level. You own a business. Tell us about that business, what you do, and how you took that leap of faith to get there.
Yeah, it's a good question. Okay.
Barbara Walters, y'all see
And what is your business?
So my business is called Birthright Consulting Group.
Okay.
So I'm a professional writer.
Oh.
I write grants, curriculum, marketing material for different companies. And I work with a few people like writing their books, like helping them like as a coach or ghostwriting.
Is it like publishing too, or?
No, because usually I use like Barnes & Noble or like Amazon, but maybe one day.
Wait, you said ghostwriting their books? What is that? Like, I never heard of that.
Yeah, so ghostwriting is when someone has something to say, but they don't necessarily want to be the writer, but they want you to use their experience or like their idea.
Okay, do you sit down with them and then they just explain everything? Or
It's a process. Yeah, you have to like really get to know someone in order to write for them.
Is there anybody that you can disclose that you wrote for? Think people we could look up? If you can disclose it. If you can't, I understand.
Yeah, for legal purposes.
There are. I'm trying to think. There might be one person who I can disclose, but I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
So,
Okay, you don't gotta
yeah.
mention it. It's fine.
Yeah, but
Do you
definitely
enjoy that? Is that like a passion of yours?
Yeah, I like that part the most because the grants are tedious. You know, the marketing is a little fun, but the helping someone write their book is something that I really like to do because you start to uncover like the true them.
Right.
You really get a sense of like who they are as a person, like what they care about, what makes them them, and on top of that, most of my clients that I work with in that way could be considered celebrities, at least in their fields.
Okay, love that.
So it's interesting.
I'm interested in that because I think we talked about this where I started to write a little biography of like myself and like my family dynamic and stuff because I wanted to release it next year for my 30th birthday. But like I don't have any experience with writing a book. So how do you approach like finding different clients? Like do they reach out to you? And then what's that journey like? Is it like spending a lot of time scheduling with them? Like, you know, them.
So most of my clients have come to me like word of mouth.
Ah, okay.
That's usually how it works. And then if we're writing a book together, then yeah, we're spending a lot of time talking because I need to even be able to understand you when you're like writing fluff. Because sometimes writing can feel like a task to people.
Yeah.
So like if I were sitting down with you writing your book, you might just write something, but it's not really from your heart or like what you truly want to say. So I need to know you well enough now to know like, is this...
So you can fill in the blanks of that
Right.
fluff. Okay, because when I used to write essays in college, like I was good for putting fluff in there.
Word. You know that last minute. It's due tomorrow.
Right.
So.
Right, yeah.
17
But I
pages,
don't want to
you
do
bugging.
that for like a biography book that I'm writing about myself. Like I want to get all the details as much as possible, but also not give too much. Like, is that a thing where like people try to not really put too much of their personal life because different people who are involved will feel away? Like,
Yeah,
how
but
does that?
there's strategies for that too. So like you can name characters, different things. You can talk about something without disclosing all the identifying details.
Okay.
You can like get poetic. So there's different ways you can like personify things. Like I love that with my clients. If their book is about, I'm just making this up, betrayal, right? Instead of writing about the person who betrayed you, you could write about betrayal and what betrayal looks like. So like make betrayal come alive. Does betrayal wear a wig?
But you're not talking
right. No.
But you're not talking about the person.
Not the person,
okay.
but the thing, the emotion.
Okay.
And there's a look to it.
Yeah.
Even if it means even if it looks like the person who you think of.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks away, it sounds away, it smells away.
Okay.
You know, like all of that.
Yeah, because like there's a lot of people in my family that would be included in my book, and then if they read it, but I'm telling it from my perspective. So you would think people wouldn't feel away. But if they come off like sounding like an asshole and they know they were the ones who did this to me or whatever the case, it's like it'll be a weird relationship now.
That's like that episode of The Wayans where Marlon had to do his stand-up comedy.
I didn't see that.
So in the episode, he would have to try to find different ways to be funny. But the only funny he knew was his family. So he would get on stage and he was like, and Sean act like yada, yada, yada. And Pops act like yada, yada. Make it hot. It was my favorite episode, right? But, and then, or you could look at it like The Best Man, right? How he wrote that personal story.
Right.
Even though he changed the names and everything, you do got to be careful because some people do recognize like it's about me.
But I like what Tiffany said though, like just pointing out like betrayal, like the thing that they did without actually saying the exact situation. I think that's a great approach.
Yeah, and since you're doing all this writing and publishing, why don't you tell us about some of the stuff you wrote?
Yeah. So I wrote 2
Don't
books.
get humble now. Don't get humble now.
Not clearing the throat.
Tell the people.
So I wrote 2 books. One is a book of poetry. I really didn't write the book of poetry to release. I was writing poetry because it was an outlet for me. And some friends of mine were like, you should release it. So I did this thing where I sold it for $1 online. And so many people brought it. Literally 300 people bought the book for $1 online. And they were like...
Damn, I got mine for like $19.99. I paid full price for it.
And they were like, you should really publish it. Because at this point, I just made a PDF.
And what's it called?
Jewels from a Black Diamond.
Jewels from a Black Diamond.
It's all poetry. It's affirmations, poetry, prose, just like positivity.
Isn't that something that you wanted to write? Or are you in the process of writing?
Yeah, my book is...
You mentioned that.
It's done, but it ain't done. So, we getting there. Tiffany is on me all the time about just stop being scared.
Yeah. Be vulnerable. Put your feelings out
between
there.
Tiffany and Tania, both of them, they talk to me about just putting it out there. I talk to them all the time about different processes, going through Amazon and all that stuff. It wasn't as simple as I thought it was, and I keep letting it get to me, but...
So put a date on it now.
A deadline.
What's the date? When
March 17th. How about that?
We can expect it in March 17th.
So when we record after March 17th, you better say my
y'all
book is
better
out.
buy it. How
This
about
is where
that?
y'all got to purchase it. So, all right.
All right.
What else you got? What other books you got?
So then the book that actually made me, I guess, a writer, right? Because before I was just calling myself, I don't know what I was calling myself. I wasn't writing before this, but it's called No Saving Me for Later.
Okay.
And the book is about all of the ways, similar to what we were talking about with the younger self, that I pretty much failed myself. I put myself to the back burner. I needed the validation of other people. I pretty much treated myself like not good. I pretty much, I didn't even really understand my own value. It was a period of time of that. And was it because you was getting that from other people, or was it just a mental thing, it
personal?
Was situations I was in, relationships, friendships that I had, things that I allow people to do without addressing it.
So you kind of just let stuff go under the rug, and it's not that big of a deal.
Right. Okay. It was that. I didn't have any boundaries. I struggled with that.
She looked at me all crazy.
Yeah, up and down. Those are important though.
Yeah.
Boundaries. Okay, so let's get into boundaries then. I don't want to get into boundaries for dating. I want to get into boundaries for family relationships. Because I think this is something that I'm better at now, but I struggled with in the past. How do you set boundaries for either your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, when there are times where you feel like they're either sucking you dry financially, emotionally, or it's just you need a break? How do you set those boundaries? Have you guys experienced that? And if so, what exactly do you do to help?
If I can chime in, I actually obviously struggle with boundaries a lot, right? One of the things I hate to do is tell people no. I hate hurting feelings. I hate breaking hearts and different things like that. That's part of.
You said you was a heartbreaker.
I didn't say I didn't do it. I just said I hate to do it, right? You know, so it makes it very difficult for me to establish those boundaries because I hate to disappoint people. So the way that I deal with disappointment is I stop having expectations, right? If you expect nothing from me, then I can't hurt you. So that's the only way for me.
Families,
right now.
though, like, okay, let's give an example. So let's say your grandfather, because you're really close to your grandfather, like he expected you to do something for him.
Then I'm doing it. If he expected from me, I got to get it done. Because one thing about my grandfather is he's not gonna accept that I can't get something done because he knows that I can. He don't press me for things that I'm incapable of. So because I know that he got so much faith in me to figure it out, I'll find a way. Even if I can't do it, I'm not going to tell him I'm incapable because he believes in me.
Right.
That's such a struggle for me because it's like that's an affirmation. Like it's like,
and that's someone in your life who is like super important that you would never want to let down.
Yeah, and but the problem is for me, that's everybody, right? So if people got faith in me that I can get something done, like the determining factors in me, I'm gonna figure it out. And it sucks me dry, like you said. Like it's very disappointing for myself, especially if I can't get it done. Like I hate deadlines and different things like that. Like Tiffany just put on me, so it's like now I gotta get it done.
Yeah, but that lights the fire under your ass, where it's like you know that you gotta, like actually accomplish one of your goals.
Yeah.
So for me, I just want to answer it real quick and we'll get to you. But when it comes to friends, like I think it's important for friends especially to set boundaries, because even the friends that you've known for so long, where it's like they think they know you in and out, to where like they can just give you all of this like emotional stuff to unpack. Yeah, and like you're not okay mentally, so it's like, well, how do you expect me to deal with your issues that you're going through and you're asking me for advice when like I got my own shit going on? So this reminds me of a conversation I had with one of my best friends. Shout out to Anna, because she watches the podcast. She can't get a bomb drop because Marvin left. But yeah, shout out to you, Anna. But we just started something that I love, where now when we have our phone conversations, she'll say like, are you in a space mentally to hear what I have to tell you? And then I'm like, well, is it something where you need advice? Like, what is it exactly? And she'll be like, oh, I just want to vent. I'm like, okay, well, then you could just vent. Or I'll be like, all right, we'll talk about it later today when I'm in a better space mentally to talk about it. So I think that's something that we set as a boundary, so that you're not just like pouring all of your issues onto me emotionally without me being ready for it.
Do you think that you can handle that though? Like if somebody just outright did it, like
people do it all the time.
I feel like I can handle everything, so that's part of where my issues stem from, and I absorb a lot of people's negative energies. Another thing that Tiffany be on my ass about, and I can't help it, right? Because it's like
you want to be there for everybody.
Like maybe that's my superpower, that I feel like I can just absorb your energy and generate positive energy out to you. But I can't. I struggle just knowing that it's people out there that I can't make happy. And, it sucks that you can't, but you really can't make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And that's something I got to learn.
What about you, Tiffany? Because I know you cleared your throat because you was ready. Talk about it.
I don't feel like I used to have these types of experiences, but not anymore, because I realized that when people love you, like truly love you, not just because you're family or because they've known you for a long time, then they respect you. And a part of that is not putting you in situations that make you feel stressed, anxious, all of the things that are unpleasant for you. So if you know me and love me, the expectation is I'm not having to constantly tell you what you shouldn't be doing to me in order so that I have a peace of mind.
Yeah, I think in my situation with my family dynamic, they know that I'm the strong person. Like they know that I'm the one who will get through anything. But because I don't ever like tell people my issues, like I'll get through my shit and then I'll have a conversation with you and ask you how your day went. Because for me, it's like you can't necessarily do anything to help me, so there's no point of complaining to you. So because I give off that energy, I think people see me as the person to constantly like try to help figure out their problems.
Yeah. I'm gonna give some people the benefit of the doubt though, because we're unpacking these things together, right? A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people don't know how to communicate their issues. They don't know how to communicate their boundaries, let alone ours. So sometimes we have to establish that. So like I have this thing where if you ask me for money, I get really annoyed by it. So my cousin, he was in college, and he would constantly be like, hey, can I get $10? Can I get $5? Can I get $20? Whatever the case may be. I'll give it to him. But then one day I had to let him know, like, that kind of upsets me. Like, you don't call me just to see how I'm doing. You don't text me to check up on me or anything like that.
We talked about checking in.
And he didn't realize that it was bothering me because I just would always say yes.
Yeah.
So now he would call me and he would say, hey, Aaron, how you doing? I'm like, I'm doing good. He was like, okay, can I have $10? But, it's at least more appreciated to see that he listened.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, he's not calling me because he's not in a position of need, so I'm going to look out for him because that's my brother. Like, no matter what it is, if I can help you, I got you. But it's like, yo, just understand me, like, because one of the things that people don't know about me is that really annoys me because I feel taken advantage of, situations that I've been in my life where it's like all people wanted out of me was money, so I get really like ticked off.
Yeah, and
by it.
I think that's why it is important to set some type of boundaries, especially with like really close friends, because they may feel like because they're so close to you that they have access to your emotions and mental health however many times they need, like for their benefit, without actually knowing that's what they're doing. But let's circle back to Tiffany and her background, because you did say your book that you wrote about was like, was it like a self-love book or what?
Yeah, I think so. I would describe it as self-love.
Okay.
I would describe it as that. It was like basically all the things that we're talking about even now. Like,
was it like you finding your self-love and like you realizing your worth and how to do that?
Well, what it was
Get into it.
what it was I was in a relationship, like a long-term relationship.
How long?
Sheesh, maybe like 7 years.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I was in a long-term relationship, and I mean like all of the things. Like we had businesses together.
Yeah, was tied.
Yeah,
mob ties.
So it was that. And I, one day, like, but I wasn't happy in the relationship. So one day, I was like, you know what? I'm going to break up with him. And
you decided to break up?
Yeah, I broke up with him. But we still had businesses, so we were...
Was that awkward?
It was very awkward. So anyway, I moved out, went to my mother's house. And then eventually I had to, like, give up the business, too, because it was just too hard to work together because, like, But anyway, I remember, like, so I had no business. I'm living in my mother's house. It's in the middle of the pandemic. And I have no money, right? Because, like, no one's working, really. This is when, like, COVID was still scary. Like, not this COVID. Right, so.
Not this COVID.
Because COVID don't really count now.
Yeah, like, this was, like, when no
Please,
one
y'all,
knew
wear
why
your
people
masks.
were dying. Like, it was, like, that kind.
Okay.
And no clients. So I remember just being in the shower and being like, how did I get to this place? Like, it's crazy. Like, how did I end up here? Now, mind you, I still, by this time, graduated from Howard and Harvard, right? So...
Right. Like, you have the credentials.
Right. But I'm still here. And literally, like, at that moment was, like, the first chapter of the book. And I started thinking about all of the choices I made. Small ones, big ones, not just with him, but... family, like how I let people convince me to pursue the things that they wanted from me, but not what I really wanted.
Okay.
Like all types of stuff. And I wrote the book.
Okay. It sounds very interesting. Like, I'm going to link everything in the bio because I'm actually going to purchase one because I want to read
definitely
it.
on Amazon.
Definitely. So. Do you have anything new coming up, or like what's the future looking like?
Yeah, because tell me, because I hear from the grapevine that you got new stuff and I don't get the sneak peeks or nothing.
Like, there's been something I wanted to work on for like a year, and I just not have been able to pull myself to do it. But yeah, I do want to like release.
Can I interrupt her real quick?
No, let her finish.
Hold on, time out. We gotta set a deadline, huh?
Oh, you're gonna try to do me like I did you. All right, so point taken. That's a boundary. So you teach people how to treat you.
Okay.
All right, that's what happens.
Let's get a bomb drop for that.
Come on, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I'll put a deadline on it. July 1st.
Okay.
Is it going to be a poetry book? Like, do you know, like, what you want to
Yeah,
put
I do. Like, I want to put together a poetry book. And I want it to be, like, visuals. You know, like short videos, visuals that go with like each poem.
That's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's as far as I got. I don't really have anything else.
Yeah. Well, that's something. Like there's still some type of something coming. So love
something
that.
coming by July 1st.
Now, as an entrepreneur, as a boss, you know, we gotta drop a bomb because she's a boss, right?
We love a girl boss.
How does that affect your love life?
Goodness.
Is there a love life? Because I know I don't got one.
There. Oh.
It's clearly affecting it.
I'm gonna say no.
Damn. So, all right, how do men treat you from that perspective of, you know, you holding it down, you being that alpha female? You know, is that intimidating to them? Like, what do you experience?
Can I actually comment on the alpha female part? I feel like I'm always having conversations where I can bring it to the podcast. So someone recently asked me about like being an alpha woman and like how is that with dating? And if you're dating and you know your intention and the purpose of you dating is to find someone and build that future, when you know that you can trust that person and you get to a point where you want to be submissive and you want to just express your feminine energy more, to me, it shouldn't be an issue. You know what I mean? Like, it just happens naturally. So, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't. I guess people might consider me an alpha female, but it's not something that has ever. That's not the issue.
What's
like the issue with dating is that once your eyes are opened to like things for real, it's hard to ignore red flags.
Oh.
So that's the issue with me. Like, it's not, people don't treat me badly. People, I don't think they're intimidated, at least people who approach me. And, like, the ones that don't are the ones that are. So I never really meet them anyway. It's, you have the career, you have the money, you know, you treat me nice, we go out, but, like, you don't listen. And I'm not about to marry you, and you don't listen, because I'm going to forever be trying to explain myself and you still won't hear me. It's that type of stuff.
Keyword hearing. You can listen to just respond, but to hear and comprehend and then to like adjust as needed for the unit, for me that's important.
Yeah, that really is important because women tend to struggle with that. So
it's not us though.
I'm just saying because y'all just put it all on the men. Just subtly. They ain't say that.
Hold on. We're not putting anything on the men, guys.
Listen,
what we're doing is explaining our point of view. And certain men recently, well, probably last year, wasn't recently, but last summer, when I was dating, there was someone who was just very, I think I talked about him in the last episode, very aggressive. And the reason why I say he was aggressive was because he was one of those guys who was like, I want to be the man in the relationship and I want you to kind of just follow suit and whatever I say goes. Like, regardless of your opinions, your thoughts, like, it's cool, but we're going to just do what I say. And I'm not that type of girl.
Yeah, and what's crazy, I don't know if I sent you this, but I just recently wrote a poem about an alpha female, right? And I think what tends to happen is y'all meet so many men who are either assholes or super submissive as men to the point where they like bend to your whim. And no woman really wants that, right? They really want that man that's going to step up and that's going to be a man. The problem is you deal with so many men who aren't capable of that.
They don't know themselves.
That you tend as a woman to become the same man that you are actually seeking. And I think that is where a lot of women need to take a step back in perspective to say, like, I don't want to be with a man that can't measure up to me. I want a man that's going to measure up to be a man.
Yeah, I think for me, I want someone who's confident in themselves, who's confident in like their ability to make decisions for themselves, my bad. And then from there, it'll translate to us if we get to that point as a relationship. Like, they'll be confident in making decisions for the unit and for the couple, not just for like their own benefit, because I've been in those situations as well. And
we're not worrying about what you bring to the table and all these hypothetical ass podcast questions that they typically ask. I'm pretty sure you bring something quality to every man or every woman that you interact with. So now we need to just start meeting at the middle and building together. A lot of it is just what do I bring versus what do you bring instead of what do we bring. And I think that's where the difference is really made. That's where love really starts to, balloon into something positive. So for everybody out there, stop worrying about what everybody else say. Worry about the two of y'all or the three of y'all, four of y'all, five of y'all. Whatever it is that y'all got going on, worry about that so that we continue to grow and we continue to worry less about what they saying on the outside, because I'm not concerned with the naysayers.
Yes. Okay, so we got through a lot of stuff and we learned a lot about Tiffany and your background. So I think you're super dope with what you got going on, and it's only up from here, and we're manifesting millions for you and the podcast. So one thing I do want to say, or the last segment before we get out of here, we started with the last episode. It's called highlighting Black inspirational influencers in your life. So it can either be family, friends, or someone recently that you came across that you felt like was inspirational to whatever you had going on. And plus it is Black History Month, so we do want to just make that a point. Do you have someone, Tiffany, that you want to shout out?
Yeah, you want to know what? Aaron.
Oh, shit.
Aaron, I'm going to shout out Aaron because...
Not Aaron.
Sometimes I don't even talk to him for weeks at a time, but he always sends me his poetry. Okay. And I think that's dope.
Does it help you?
It does, because the nature of what I do, my money is attached to the corporate part of writing. So sometimes I don't even write poetry, even though it's the thing I like to do the most. So him sending it really does remind me of purpose. Okay, I could be, writing a commercial, but don't forget I need to write poetry too. To be my true self.
That. Yeah.
So I want to shout out Aaron.
Shout out to Aaron.
Thank you. I do positive things.
He's very faithful with that. One day I said maybe he's gonna stop one day, but he just never does. Even if I don't respond.
She read it. I see she read it. And then every once in a while I gotta check on her yo, first off, I'm asking you if you like it. But she just stay quiet. It's all good though.
Yeah.
Just to piggyback off of our relationship, she's very, very intimidated to get on that stage. So we gotta motivate her to get on that stage. We gonna try to find
a poetry night. We thought about having one of those with the podcast. So yeah, when we do, not if, we're gonna hit you up.
Can I go with my Black person?
Yes.
All right. So because I struggle so much with my poetry sometimes and my confidence sometimes when it comes to my creativity, our art, because this is art. The guy that I want to give a shout out to is Frederick Douglass, right? We all know Frederick Douglass. That was one of the few Black people they actually put a focus on because of his overcoming being a slave and becoming an instrumental part of American history,
and taught himself
right?
how to read and write.
His quote that is very popular: if there is no struggle, there is no progress, right? We gotta struggle, we gotta see it's not always gonna be, as Danish say, rainbows and ice cream. It's gonna be days where we gotta hunker down and we gotta recognize that it's hard. It's not called the easy life. Yeah. So it's a hard knock life and we're gonna figure it out. But seeing somebody like him overcome so much when it was nothing in positive perspective for him to get out of that situation, just faith. We gotta have that same faith. I use that quote to motivate my team. I've been in charge of donations and charities for Jocelyn Diabetes. If anybody want to donate to my Cash App, I'm going to send it to my store. I ain't going to keep your money.
Wait, why your Cash App? Why not their fund?
Because I got to put the money into the store. So if y'all want to donate, I'll send y'all the link. Y'all could hook me up and hook us up.
Okay.
But yeah. I'm not going to keep it. I'll be real transparent.
Yeah. All right. So my Black influencer that I want to shout out is 19 Keys. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, he was just on Math Office podcast.
I love him.
Y'all should have him on a podcast.
Girl,
you know him?
Right.
Listen.
It's probably not cheap. He seemed like he costs money. Anyway, shout out to him because I can spend hours just watching and listening to him talk on YouTube. He sees himself as the higher level thinker and thought leader of our generation. So he just has a lot of different things going, and he wants to just teach the Black community of how to elevate higher. I just think what he's doing and his platform is just super dope, and I love him. He's cute.
Yeah, you should definitely
I'm gonna
figure out a way.
I'm
You
gonna
should.
reach out.
You should reach out. Be a part of his initiatives. Like, you can make something work.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be hard at all, to be honest.
Okay.
She seemed like she got it in. So
Yeah,
Tiffany,
we
gonna
gotta
hook us
talk
up.
after the podcast.
No, but one thing that I did talk to Dana about before Tiffany came on is like I believe Tiffany is a positive influence and role model, especially Dana as a younger professional. Get to know each other, mentorship. What's the other word we was looking for from that episode? My brain just went dead. Collaboration and networking. There we go. I think this is a great
hard.
network. It was super hard. You see me struggle out like
Yeah.
But I think it's a super opportunity to network with somebody that's in a different space. Somebody that's a young
someone who's
professional
in
woman.
media, like that to me is important because that is something like we have the podcast and we want to make sure that we get more guests on here who can enlighten and just share what they have going on. So yeah, we'll definitely like take information and connect.
Yeah, I would help in any way I can.
So, do you have anything that you want to tell the wonderful viewers that we had before
Our
you
coworkers.
Our coworkers.
Oh, coworkers. I would say to people, just on a positive note, there's literally nothing that you cannot do. Whatever it is, no matter who told you you can't do it, no matter who told you to forget about it, no matter who told you it was too big, literally you could do it.
Yes.
That's it.
I love that.
Do it.
Reach for the stars. Fuck the moon. Reach for the stars.
And don't save it for later.
And on that note, we didn't even shout out the
It's okay.
Gmail.
I'm ready. You see, I cursed like 3 times this episode. I'm proud of myself.
Your granddad gonna be mad.
Anyways, granddad, if you got something to say to the podcast, like any of our other
Would
coworkers,
he come on?
He will come on. He said he's down. I told him he can't come on now. Cause then I gotta be conservative, I gotta.
No, have him come on.
Right.
What do you mean?
He's only coming if your grandmother come.
Well, she lives in Arizona.
But when she come to Jersey, we'll collaborate.
Okay.
All right. We'll fly out. You ever got flued out? I'll fly out. Not like that. Anyways, if anyone wants to speak to the podcast, whether it's just giving us some different questions or if you want to join the podcast yourself, make sure you reach out to WOAWpod@gmail.com. Sorry, I'm speaking fast. I'm working on my communication.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining, tuning in, listening, viewing, however you took in our podcast. We appreciate your support. And on that note, we outside and we out.
You're supposed to say we out.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Told me that.